Hello guys and welcome to a new Steel Division video today by me Vulcan. Today I have for you Bumblebeepotato versus Tarsh in round 3 lower bracket of the 4th Asia Pacific tournament. Today we are seeing Pointe du Hoc, and on the allied side Bumblebee is going to be using his 3rd armoured and Tarsh is using his Panzer Lehr. So I'm hoping that this time on Pointe du Hoc we're seeing a longer game than we did previously. I realised that it was just a 10-minute video, so hopefully this one will make up for that, as it was a little disappointing that the game ended so quickly, but here we are. And these are two divisions that I think both play relatively slow to start anyway, so we will probably see that naturally extend the game, so not too much to worry about on that front. But let's talk about these divisions in more detail. So on the side of the 3rd armoured, you do have the M4A1s in Phase A. Those can be very good actually against the Panzer Lehr and their limited like anti-tank capabilities in Phase A. So they have like Pak 38s and they have like Pumas, but the front armour of the 3rd armoured's M4A1 is 9. So they're going to be bouncing a lot of shots regardless, and that's something that Bumblebee really might be able to take advantage of early on. The only thing that really plays against Bumblebee at the start of this game is the terrain, and the fact that there's so many tree lines gives Tarsh plenty of opportunities to ambush the M4A1, and it could make it quite hard to play around the M4A1s because of that. Also, things at close range like Pumas don't really care about armor because, you know, they're close enough to penetrate anyway, so the range, like the shortening of the range due to the map, will therefore allow more lethality on both sides of things. Let's have a look at some of the units going down. On the top side here we have some armoured rifles in the half track there. They're going to be covering that top side. For the main road there's going to be the M4A1 covered by an M20 command, and there is going to be some recon there. Quite an expensive mid push, but more so than that there's another M4A1 for the bottom side mid. That is very interesting that he's decided to invest in 2 M4A1s. But that's going to be accompanied by recon and AT. And on the very bottom side he's just got an M3 half-track with armoured rifles. Now generally the majority of the contention comes between this road, this main road here, and the main road on the mid. Just because they are almost direct, straight towards the enemy's front line. So that's generally where people start, but in this case, not having so much on the bottom side could really affect Bumblebee's chances in this game if he doesn't reinforce that soon enough. Also, the fact he's brought in 2 M4A1s, it's fine, but I feel like he should use them together to just make a huge push, like concentrated push through the front line of Tarsh early on. That would definitely cause Tarsh to panic with his Panzer Lehr, which may not be able to keep up with the aggression that Bumblebee is putting out. Now both of these divisions have 70 and 75 income, so they're both limited to the amount of stuff they can bring in Phase A, and they both have, you know, a limited amount of infantry availability early on. So playing around Bumblebee's advantage would definitely be the way to go with these M4A1s, but bringing in too early on may leave him a little bit light on this bottom side like I mentioned. So for Tarsh's side of things, he's got the 2-3-4-1 for the bottom and the mid. He's accompanied the one in the bottom with a 250-10 and a Panzerschreck squad. He's got the Panzergrens here. He's got 2 sets of Panzergrens for the mid, and he's got another Panzerschreck for the road in the mid here, and a Pak 38 on the top. So that Pak 38, it might be able to pop this M3 half-track if it was in line of sight. It is not currently. But knowing that that Pak 38 is there, Bumblebee should be able to just charge it down with his armoured rifles, and I'd like to see that a lot. One thing I am quite pleased with though is Tarsh picking up these Panzerschrecks. I think he's utilised the map very well by doing so. He's covered both of the main roads, which could be very aggressively pushed with these Panzerschrecks, so if Bumblebee gets a little bit over aggressive with his M4A1s, then the Panzerschreck can punish that very easily. But either way, a push is coming onto the bottom side already. Armoured rifles are going to find themselves pinned down in the face of all of this fire. MG fire, 20mm fire. Crazy stuff. On the top side though, armoured rifles haven't quite pushed up. M3 half-tracks found its way back behind the tree line there, which I think is okay. But honestly could have just pushed towards this Pak 38 with those armoured rifles. Just helped kill it off and chase it down after it got pinned. So the half-track's also going to be forced back, and like I said, this weak defense on the bottom side is looking to be crushed relatively quickly. However, the M4A1 is on the way down, and that is a good response from Bumblebee, but he wants to be bringing in some more reinforcements. Possibly this 6-pounder to the bottom side. The M1 gun there would definitely be more convenient. It looks like Bumblebee is going to miss his opportunity in this top side. Panzer Grenadiers are on their way. And of course there is a reason to be sort of cautious up here when you only have one unit and one half-track defending that area. You don't really want to throw those away into the enemy forces, especially like if he did run into Panzer Grens, he could find himself in trouble very quickly. So it makes sense that Bumblebee didn't push the top side, but I would have liked to have seen maybe the armoured rifles get aggressive whilst this M3 half-track kind of stays back and holds the front line forwards. M1 gun here is going to be able to engage onto these units on the bottom side. If the 2-3-4-1 is not fired upon, that's going to easily be able to pin down or even kill off the M1 gun there. Look at the lethality on that. Crazy stuff. M1 gun's already dead. M4A1 is coming in for the kill though. With the 250-10 pinned down, there's not too much here to stop him. The 250-10 at close range can definitely do a lot of damage, but the 20mm autocannon is going to struggle. M4A1 in the mid is going to be rolling down to counter the 2-3-4-1 here, but he doesn't want to get the M20 command in the way of that, otherwise he will be losing his command unnecessarily. But yeah, you can see this M4A1 on the bottom side here doing a lot of work, takes out the 250-10, takes out the half-track. We'll be focusing now on trying to take out this 2-3-4-1, but surprised Tarsh didn't really take the opportunity to get his Panzer Grens closer to the M4A1 here and force those back before they got those half-track kills. So a little bit of a missed opportunity on the side of Tarsh, but all in all, not too bad. He's still got his 2-3-4-1 alive, and I mean, he's getting aggressive in Phase A once again with the Panzer Lehr, so can't really take that away from him. M4A1 and M20 command are now pushing up. M4A1 has found the 2-3-4-1 in the mid. Not going to quite land the first shot, but with the accompaniment of a second M4A1 here, this could really be the push that Bumblebee needs to make an advantage early on, and I'd very much like to see that. Oh, nice. The M1 gun coming in from the other side there. The M20 command did find itself ahead of the M4A1s, which is a big mistake here from Bumblebee, actually. Losing the command on his M4A1s early on is a massive mistake. It basically is completely unneeded, when he could otherwise keep both of his M4A1s 2-star veterancy, which would be incredibly hard for Tarsh to deal with. So on this bottom side, the Panzerschrecks have moved up and M5A1 has arrived, but without any recon down here, it's going to be important that Bumblebee remains careful with how he uses these vehicles. But I really like that both of these M4A1s now are together and will be pushing aggressively. I'm just a little bit concerned about where they're pushing, like into all of these tree lines, especially when Tarsh is using Panzerschrecks. Now, Bumblebee wouldn't have necessarily spotted that yet, but still, it might catch him out just because he's playing into close range engagements down there. Anyway, up the top side, the half-tracks and the armoured rifles were dealt with by the Panzer Grens and the half-tracks. That's going to leave a nice salient for Tarsh early on, +1 in his favour. In the mid, half-track goes down, but with more Panzer Grens arriving, going to make things difficult. Panzerschreck is going to open up on this bottom side. Driver wounded. Not going to be enough, I don't think. With all of the machine guns coming down, I think the Panzerschreck might just be pinned in time. Yeah, I'm surprised they didn't get killed off, actually. 2-star M5A1 with 330 cals on target. That should definitely be lethal enough to kill the Panzerschreck, but not in this case. Scouts have arrived. The 2-3-4-1's going to get aggressive here, but the M5A1 definitely has an advantage at that range. Track well destroyed is going to leave that 2-3-4-1 in the open, and the Stuart will be finishing it off. Easy peasy. Now the M4A1's zooming down to the bottom side. Honestly, this is a much better play here from Bumblebee. I like this a lot. He just needs to make sure that he doesn't leave the mid undefended, because at the moment it's quite simply just a Jeep 30 cal holding that front line. If the M4A1s both commit to the bottom side instead. But yeah, this bottom side, much easier to push due to the main road. The best place to use the M4A1s would be on the top side because it's more open and allows them to take advantage of their armour at range. So it's still a shame that they're heading down here, but it's a better play than pushing through the mid, in my opinion, especially where Tarsh has actually just decided to reinforce that. So he's kind of like made this threat in the mid. Tarsh has come in with the Pak 38 to try and like counter that, and now he's instead bluffed the mid, and now he's going to push on the bottom. So this is actually pretty smart here. I really like that play. M5A1 is going to be coming into the top side near the cliff here. Armoured rifles are also pushing up that way. If they can unload the M3 half-track in range of these half-tracks, the armoured rifles should be able to use their bazooka on both of them. Kind of close the salient here a little bit until he can deal with the Panzergrens afterwards. But currently it's like 53% territory lead with another, I think there was another M20 command going down there. There is going to be a lack of veterancy on the bottom side, but yeah, nice salient opening up for Bumblebee here, getting very aggressive. This is what I like to see. The double M4A1 being used together. Like we saw it in the mid, it did a lot of work. Now it's come down to the bottom side where Tarsh is not reinforced, and that's really how Bumblebee is making some ground. So great improvement from what we've seen from Bumblebee otherwise. M5A1's just looking for the kill onto the half track now, and then he can sort of decide what he wants to do on this top side. He does have an AT gun here, but he's got to be careful he doesn't reveal that to these Panzergrens. Otherwise that's just going to find itself pinned and the Puma can just run it down. M5A1 versus a Puma as well is a bit risky, especially at range. The Puma will have a decent accuracy there, and that's going to be something he's going to have to be worried about. M5A1 is being engaged upon by the Pak 38. It's going to go down, and the half-track that got ahead of itself did also get picked off by the Puma. So spreading out these units a little bit here has caught out Bumblebee quite a lot. The M4A1s should have been going first. They can bounce shots from these Pak 38s very easily, and also bounce shots from the Pumas. Whereas in this case, both of the units that could not take those shots died first. And that's a little bit of micromanagement there from Bumblebee to allow that to happen. But engaging the Pak 38 from this range is absolutely fine. He should be able to pin that down relatively quickly. On the top side here, the Puma is going to be forcing back the M5A1 armoured rifles and M3 half-track. That is a nice pushback there from Tarsh, getting the Pak 38 into position to help out as well. So great stuff across the board so far. It started a little bit slow, and I was a bit concerned about this M4A1, double M4A1, but you can see that it definitely is effective. Takes out the Pak 38 there without really taking a scratch, and yeah, puts Bumblebee in a good position to continue this push on the bottom side. Knowing that this Puma is killing his armoured rifles, there's no reason not to bring these M4A1s down here and try and take care of that. So that's what I'd like to see, and that's it looks like what he's going to do. M1 gun has been pinned by the Panzergrens and it's going to be forced back. M5A1 is going to be continuing to move forwards once again to engage the Puma, or maybe just get killed by the Pak 38. We'll have to wait and see. But pushing that M5A1 into the Puma there is not ideal at all. And that Puma is actually hidden, or Bumblebee getting pretty lucky there with the bounces from the Puma. Like when that Puma hits, oh, another bounce. It should ideally penetrate most of the time. Finally, transmission damage. The M5A1's falling back. The Puma should have enough time to finish that off. Yep, critical ammo explosion. So now more forces have come in for Tarsh on the bottom side. He's brought in some Spear Troop. He's brought in this Puma. He's got the 2341 now backing that up. And that does leave Tarsh in a relatively strong position. He can take out any infantry that tries to poke through the tree lines. And it kind of stops, if he keeps his Puma like behind this tree line, it stops the M4A1s from just like pushing aggressively. So we'll delay Bumblebee's sort of push on the bottom side there. For the mid, reinforcements have arrived. I said that it was a bit weak and there was a need of like some reinforcements here, so it's good to see those arrive. On this top side, after the Stuart's dead, the armoured rifles are left exposed. The M3 half-track went down as well. There is some recon on the way, but is it really necessary? You can see like every unit that's attacked you up there. Usually recon's just good for if you're trying to make blind pushes, like particularly on this bottom side with the M4A1s. Armoured rifles in the mid though are going to find themselves pinned in the face of the Panzer Grenadiers. I have to wait and see if Tarsh spots that, because if he does, he might be able to find a surrender there, and therefore more ground. On this top side, armoured rifles again being pinned is going to leave Bumblebee in a pretty tough situation where he is going to be losing even more ground, but we are going to be seeing a jumbo. A jumbo has arrived, boys. Bumblebee's picked one up, and that is going to be tough for Tarsh to deal with at this point. The other great thing is jumbos work really well at like any range, apart from 1,200 meter range, which on a map like Pointe du Hoc is perfect. The only thing that Tarsh can really do about a jumbo is bring in like a panther and try and kill it at close range, but at that close range the jumbo will be just as effective. So that is a really nice pickup now from Bumblebee, and will hopefully allow him to bring back this top side in his favor, and therefore maybe give him a lead in total, because he does still have this ground on the bottom side here. What I always find funny about Pointe du Hoc though is you'll notice that all of the front line kind of follows the tree lines. So in this case, there's like the tree line here, you can see it just like follows this box of trees here, it goes all the way up here, just follows the trees for the most part. Again, exactly along the tree line here. And that's always something you see on Pointe du Hoc, because the sort of tree lines make it so hard to like push aggressively. The only way you can really get away with it is just kind of identifying what you've killed and then pushing based upon that. But that can be quite hard to do. And of course, you've always got to be wary that your opponent is reinforcing. But Bumblebee is kind of primed to be in a really good position moving into Phase B. He has 10 more income per minute than Tarsh, and if he can keep up the pressure, he can stop Tarsh from bringing in any significant tanks in Phase B, which will definitely weaken the chances of Tarsh coming back in this game in the later phases, when he has access to a lot of income and can afford Panthers and King Tigers and stuff like that. Not that a King Tiger would be a very good choice for this map, but still. Could definitely excuse me. Could definitely be used effectively to kill the jumbo on the top side at least. So M4A1 is going to be trying to pick off this half track. We did see one of Bumblebee's half tracks go down to the Puma. It's interesting to see the sort of motorized play out of Tarsh. He's definitely trying to make good use of his recon vehicles to find kills onto sort of smaller targets, and is kind of working around these M4A1s quite nicely at the moment. Not getting too aggressive on this top side, he doesn't need to in the face of a jumbo. But now this jumbo's got a fast move order, and I hope Bumblebee keeps an eye on this, because if he doesn't, that could fast move right into the line of sight of the Puma, which could then quite easily take that out. The other thing with fast moving in this direction is there's a Panzer Grenadier squad there, and that is not pinned down yet. He is definitely trying to mortar it. Whether or not he'll find it remains to be seen. Okay, he is going to be fire positioning in the wrong place. Okay, where's your recon? You need your recon now. He did bring up recon there originally, but it must have got killed off. Oh dear. Bumblebee may be getting a little bit ahead of himself here with the jumbo. What's he going for? Maybe he's just trying to surround the Panzer Grans, but noticing the bubble there, it's going to be important to take those out, just so they don't ambush future vehicles moving down the coastal road there. M4A1 is going to crew wound the Puma in the mid, and that is a big deal actually, because if he can hit that again, yep, easy kill. Then we see the half track go down there as well. Again, the double M4A1 push really coming out trumps against Tarsh's units early on, especially into this Phase B now, where Tarsh is constantly being forced to reinforce with units like these Panzergrants and lighter units, because he just quite simply can't afford his more expensive units. And this is a real big chance here for Bumblebee to make a lot of ground, and he definitely needs to, as he will be under pressure in the late game versus Tarsh. Now, it's not so bad playing the 3rd Armoured into the Panzer Lehr, because you do equal the income of the Panzer Lehr in Phase C. However, it's the quality of units that really makes the difference in this case. So the M21 there going to be picking off that AT gun. So both the Puma here and the Pak-38 have been dealt with by the Jumbo. The Panzer Grenadiers are still in this ambushing position here, and you can see they are going to be moving up there. So nice job by Tarsh to just keep them hidden and get them into a place which is going to be annoying for Bumblebee moving forwards. But the Panzer Treks in the mid have been killed. This Panzer Gren is looking to be surrendered as well. Just across the board right now, Bumblebee is putting on a ton of pressure, and I really, really like this play out of Bumblebee. Like, yeah, there's been mistakes, but just in general, like, he's just played this very, very well now. He brought in the jumbo to the right place. The double M4A1 push was the perfect, like, answer to the Panzer Lehr. And now he's just got to try and take advantage of this as much as he can. Really find the advantage. But he has let it fall away as he gets side shot here by the Puma. That is going to be actually rear shot by the Puma. And this one may also find itself side shot. Oh dear. Track wheel damage from this Puma. M4A1 may find itself in trouble. 2, 3, 4, 1 on the bottom side is going to be bumping into these armoured rifles. Can the armoured rifles get the Zuka off? They can. Bailed out the 2, 3, 4, 1. But Tarsh has done enough to prevent these M4A1s from making too much more ground for now. And that's all he really needed to do, as he may still be able to bring this back in Phase C, although it is looking pretty scary currently. So the armoured rifles here, they are pinned down in the face of the Panzer Grenadiers, but with the jumbo around, he should be able to take care of that. However, with the 150 meter range there, things could get ugly. But Panzer Grens are behind enemy lines. I think he should be okay. Gets a 50 cal on target. There we go. Job done. So yeah, even more ground now being made for Bumblebee. He's in a very strong place right now, and he really just needs to continue to take advantage of his position where he can, especially on the top side with this jumbo, with the M21 mortar carrier. Like, he could, this is basically his game to lose right now. And it's just great to see Bumblebee, who I was disappointed with his performance in the past, come out really strong in this game against Tarsh, who has been playing to probably the top of his game throughout the tournament so far, being aggressive with the Panzer Lehr. We can finally see a Befehl Panther on the scene, but a Befehl Panther versus the 3rd Armoured is not the worst. Like, yeah, I mentioned that they would be the best thing to sort of kill a jumbo at close range, or maybe kill some other units at close range, but you've got to remember there are M4A3 76mm, and those things can be absolutely deadly at this range. So I'm hoping we see those come in to accompany the jumbos here, and that will definitely present a large threat to Tarsh if he wants to push back with his Panthers. Now the Panther is in direct line of sight of this M4A1, which is a huge mistake from Bumblebee. Ideally, that wants to never be in line of sight of a Panther unless it's within like 400 meter range, because at least then it has some form of penetration chance. Whereas at this range, it's just a sitting duck waiting to be killed, and that's exactly what happened. M4A1 pull has come in on the bottom side. That's going to be trying to prevent Tarsh from making back any ground over here. This M3 half-track has definitely found its way to a very nice position, just going to be sitting in that corner of the tree line, being awkward to find. +2 now, still in favour of Bumblebee, just needs to maintain this position, but then we can see a Panther A now as well coming in on this top side. So with the Phase C income coming about, it looks like Tarsh was also saving towards the ends of Phase B, and that's why he did end up losing quite a lot of ground. But now he has 2 Panthers on the field, and it's really going to be up to Bumblebee to find a way to maybe pin them down and take them out, or just solidify his position and set up loads of ambushes with his tanks. So more M4A3s, but 76mm would be ideal. M4A3 75 is okay-ish. They still work relatively well at close range. That's something that Bumblebee could take advantage of, but this M4A1 has found the first shot onto the Puma. I think he got the ammo storage hit. Second hit's going to force it to fall back. They're going to get out of line of sight. Yes, it is. The Puma just a little bit too fast there. Armoured rifles are going to be forced to fall back in the face of this half-track. Tarsh is going to be trying to run those down, try and find a surrender there. Jumbo's kind of swung down to the mid here rather than staying on the top side, and that means that those infantry are undefended and will therefore be surrendered. This M3 half-track has also been surrounded now, so that's not going to be providing so much of a territory lead. And where is it going? Why is that fast moving backwards? I do not know. He wants to keep that in that position, because regardless of it being surrounded, You'd rather your opponent not know that M3 half track is there, and you can use it to surprise surrender stuff like in the future. Either way, Paul and the M3 Scout are going to rip to shreds these Panzer Grenadiers, poor chaps. Befell Panther though has come down the main road and is going to be looking to find shots onto this M3 Scout. M4A3 just needs to tuck in behind that tree line. That is the correct play to do. Maybe sort of move it round in between this gap here and a little bit closer so that he can ambush that Befell Panther in the future. Yeah, like I said, this is his game to lose. He's just got to maybe play it more defensively than he has been now, and that would be the way to hold back these Panthers from breaking through. Because it's going to be hard for Tarsh to find the amount of units he needs in order to provide the support for the Panthers that they will require to make ground. So yeah, just a very strong position here from Bumblebee. He's got a lot of infantry making a lot of ground, but it's really up to this Jumbo now. The Panthers making ground up here, and is going to be trying to take advantage of the max range engagement. That's not what Bumblebee wants at all. Now the other thing that could be used to kill this Panther is something like an M5 gun. You can see this M5 gun has been brought to the mid. Bit of an odd choice in my opinion. Bringing that either to the bottom side or to the top side would be better, since that's where he's seen the Panthers. And I'm not sure if that came in before the Panthers were spotted, but either way, moving that to a more open area would definitely cover his weaknesses against things like these heavier tanks in Phase C. So sort of realizing what you're up against in the later game would have definitely helped him out in this case, but he's not decided to take full advantage of that just yet. The Jumbo's going to be trying to roll away from the Panther A here. M21 mortar carriers just trying to get out of line of sight. Keeping that mortar carrier safe is pretty important, as it does allow his infantry to continue their favourable engagement against the Panzer Grenadiers at close range, since the support of the M21 will definitely help them out. In this case, Panzer Grenadiers have been found. They're going to be engaging the Panzer Grens at close range, or the armoured rifles at close range. They are in cover and the armoured rifles are not, so the armoured rifles will likely get pinned down eventually and just killed off, or forced to fall back at least. They won't surrender, I don't think, because the Panzer Grens are behind enemy lines. But yeah, so far 59% territory lead. Bumblebee doing a really, really good job here. The trouble is with Tarsh at this point is he's trying to play through this bottom side with the Befell Panther, and it's just going to take time. And it's time that he doesn't really have. The points are really escaping him right now, and Bumblebee just did a great job in Phase B of really solidifying his push. And here, like, the Jumbo's just cleaning up, taking out more and more units. It's also probably going to find and kill off these Pioneers. It might also be able to assist with the kill onto the Panzer Grens, although they seem to be just out of range. Those engineers though do want to get within the 100 meter range though to use their grenade. But yeah, those Pioneers have been hidden, rightly so, by Tarsh. M4A3 here killing some more Pioneers on the bottom side, and well, it looks like Tarsh's limited infantry availability is really getting the better of him now, especially against the 3rd Armoured, who generally does have limited infantry as well, but not half as bad as the Panzer Lehr. And you can see that's why the amount of infantry disparity on this map right now is well in favour of Bumblebee. So the 2-3-4-1 has gone down. The Jumbo is going to be just charging up into the face of this Panther D, but we can see a Thunderbolt on the way. That's actually going to be hitting this Panther A. Oh, really nice strike there. It's going to be falling back right into these armoured rifles, and that armoured rifles will have another 2 shots on target. We'll have to see if the Panther A can get killed. Never mind, just going to surrender. Fantastic strike there from Bumblebee, identifying that Panther out in the open and using the perfect unit there to take it out. So really, really good job. And yeah, Tarsh has kind of overextended his Panther without support there, and that's what led to that. Now we can see the armoured rifles did die up here, but with an M4A3 on the way and the M8 kind of spotting those in the tree line, that will allow Bumblebee to pin them down. M4A3 is just going to continue up the coastline, +3 now in favour of Bumblebeepotato. He's taking back that ground on the top side here. His armoured rifles miss the last shot while they get the sprawling crew wounded onto the 251, but that's not going to really be good enough, not in the face of the speed troop at least. This jumbo is falling back. I think it's just yeah, reversing away. This could be really bad actually. There is pioneers here just waiting to surrender that. As soon as that jumbo moves back into enemy territory, that is going to be a surrender. Yeah, so the jumbo's gone down. But we can see that the lack of infantry across the board is giving Bumblebee so much ground to advance. And just the pure aggression with that jumbo is going to make it so difficult for Tarsh to come back, regardless of whether or not he has a Panther D in the mid or not. Because that's going to be in a position where it can be ambushed by things like this M1 gun. And the M5 gun's just being in an awful position for the majority of the game, but it's still something that Tarsh needs to consider because he doesn't know exactly where those M5 guns will be, and is probably well aware that they will be in Bumblebee's division. So it's kind of mind games in a way, but completely unintentional mind games from Bumblebee. A Vespa has been found. That's going to be taken out by the M4A1. Another big blow to Tarsh's arsenal. There is 2 Befehl Panzer IV-Hs on the way, and these can be useful at close range to take on M4s, but they are just a little bit too late here. +4 now in favour of Bumblebee, and what a dominating performance this has been. He's really shown us the strengths now of the 3rd Armoured, and I'm glad that we did finally see it, because a lot of people were saying that the 3rd Armoured were not great for 1v1, but in my opinion, if they're played correctly against specific divisions, they can do extremely well, and in this case, I think Bumblebee did a very good job of showing that to us. So, great job by him, going to win the game in 28 minutes and 39 seconds. Tarsh, unfortunately, is going to be knocked out of the tournament since this was a lower bracket game, and well, it's a shame because Tarsh has also played very well, but Bumblebee really coming into full form when it mattered, and winning this one for himself is absolutely fantastic. So yeah, really good job. Going to be moving on to round 4 lower bracket now, and we'll have to see how he gets on against more great competitors coming down from the upper bracket. So in the end, 2,460 kills versus the 1,745 losses, and vice versa, of course, for Tarsh. It really surprised me how well Bumblebee did in this game. Really sort of took advantage of that jumbo and these M4A1s a treat. It was really, really good to watch. So yeah, in the end, the M4A1s really showing up. This one getting so many kills. 250, 10, 251s. You can see like it just literally rolled over all of the units that Tarsh had that were even remotely close to like contesting this. Like the 9 front armor of the M4A1 just quite simply meant that the Pak-38 wasn't doing the job. The Puma wasn't either. Even this M5A1, yeah, it didn't get like a lot of kills, but it still was relatively effective to slow down the Panzer Lehr aggression in Phase A. The second M4A1 actually didn't do too well. I think that was the one that was kind of like placed in the mid initially, and then was kind of going up and down the map a little bit until it kind of met up with its other one, which was doing a lot better. But yeah, this jumbo making a huge difference, definitely cleaning up a lot of the lighter units that Tarsh was using. And I just feel like he had enough pressure that the Panzer Lehr could not bring in those Panthers, and without Panthers to take on the jumbos or, you know, things like Pak-43s, it's just going to be impossible for Tarsh to like effectively deal with a jumbo, and at close range he would have still struggled as well. So was very reliant on things like Panzerschrecks and also Panzer Grenadiers, but I think like in Phase A you only get like 2 Panzerschrecks in the 250-10s, and then like throughout the rest of the game he's solely reliant on Panzergrens, and when you're moving into that later phase on an infantry based map as the Panzer Lehr, you just completely run out of infantry availability and you can't support your tanks sufficiently. So yeah, it's very difficult to deal with, but Paul once again finding himself a nice amount of kills. We see the M4A1 here coming in. The Panther A eventually surrendered to the armoured rifles, and we can see the Befehl Panther went down to the M5 gun in the end. In terms of losses, well, the Puma was okay. That nice side shot there onto the M4A1 was really well, and I think Tarsh actually managed this engagement against the M5A1 in the half track nicely. He kind of avoided being in line of sight of the M4A1 and took advantage of the units that were kind of left out in the open. So that was a little smart play there from Tarsh, but wasn't really enough to make a huge difference. Yes, the M4A1 went down in the end, but you can see just how badly his units did in Phase A in comparison to like Bumblebee. And when you have that bad of a Phase A, it really sort of forces you to compensate for the rest of the game. And especially through Phase B, that's incredibly hard since your income is still very low and will eventually end up losing you the game, since you'll never be able to get in your powerful units and have the units still to support them. So that's basically how it ended up, and unfortunately, yeah, that is going to leave Tarsh out of the tournament. But congratulations to Bumblebeepotato. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.